I think most of you would be surprised at how much of an impact subwoofer position, speaker position, and seat position has on the sound of your system in your room. It's pretty significant, and in most cases, people don't give enough or pay enough attention to why I should put a subwoofer here or why I should have my seats here. But let's be honest, in real life, most of us don't have a lot of flexibility as to where we can put things in our room. There's certain ways that make sense, and you might not have the flexibility to move things around. But I just want you to see how much of an impact it can make and how different it can be even just with slight changes, so that you at least can appreciate what it does. And I had two opportunities in the last couple of weeks to see that, and it reminded me that, man, I gotta let people know what this is all about and what it actually does. And I have something most of you don't, and that's acoustic measuring equipment. So I can kind of put a visual to what we're hearing in a given space. So let me show you the first instance of that happening. Welcome to my man cave, my own personal basement. It's just like most basements. It's just carpeted floor, drywall on the walls, drywall finished ceiling. Not too much special about it, except it's special to me because this is where I come to chill out, to listen to great music, play video games, watch movies, watch football. It's my spot, my man cave. So I want it to be as awesome as possible. And I've got a nice pair of speakers, a subwoofer, and a big screen TV. And I got the itch a couple of weeks ago to get better bass. I had my subwoofer set up on the left side of my my equipment in kind of the middle of the room because I knew that putting a subwoofer in the corner of the room like most people do exacerbates the problems that the room introduces sonically. So I put it, thinking I was in good shape, I had it over on the left side, thought the bass was not bad, but I wanted to confirm that. So I set up my microphone in my sweet spot, in my center seat, and put 120 hertz and below pink noise through my sub because I'm just looking at the bass. And look at the curve that I got here. Kind of disappointing. At first glance, I was really disappointed at how much of that really deep low bass I was missing. That's the bass that you can feel in your bones and you can feel when it hits, and I was disappointed to see that. I was really lacking that there. And also, I didn't like the little valley that I was getting right around 30 hertz and that nasty looking peak at 76 hertz. When you have a peak of that magnitude, it masks so many other frequencies. It drowns out other sounds that you're supposed to be hearing. You can't have peaks like that in a system. Now, normally I cross my subwoofer over lower than that, but in this case, I just wanted to see what I was getting in the first place. So I put a decent amount of information through my subwoofer, and now I can see what I was getting. So check out what happened when I just moved my subwoofer from the left side of my setup to the right side, which in this case does happen to basically be in the corner. Check this out. Look at the difference first in the low frequency, that sub 30 hertz information that I'm getting. I mean, I went from somewhere around 47 dB to now I'm around 55 dB at 25 hertz, that guttural, like deep bone shaking bass. And 7 dB might not sound like a lot at first, but go over to your stereo system while it's playing and turn it up 7 dB. That's pretty loud. And it takes a lot of power to achieve that kind of an increase in volume. So I was really happy to see that. Also, look at that dip that is still there, but only slightly around 40 hertz. Much smoother. I'm getting that punch information. 40 hertz is such a punch frequency, and I wanted that. So I was happy to see that just by moving my subwoofer, I was able to fill that in most of the way. And also look at how much the peak fell at 76 hertz. Now I just know, even though I'll probably cross my subwoofer over a little lower than that, I won't ask it to play that. At least now I know that it's not contributing, or it's not that bad up there anymore. It's a lot smoother experience, and you can really hear the difference, especially in that deep bass. So yeah, the listening position never changed, the microphone never moved, the subwoofer moved from one side to the other. And wow, look at the difference in that, just by moving the subwoofer. Pretty cool. The other day I was at a client's house who had a really high-end home theater system installed a while back. and with amazing speakers and incredible subwoofers, two of those subwoofers. But when the whole setup was done, not a lot of thought was really given to the acoustic side of things. It was mostly just, we're going to put in amazing gear and this guy's going to love it just because the gear is awesome. And it is awesome. But I got the chance to set up my acoustic measuring equipment and just take a look at what he was getting. So I put my microphone in his seat and just ran the same thing like I did in my basement, the just low frequency information. I want to see what the bass is like in his seat. Look at this curve. It's pretty nasty. That peak at 49 hertz is just ruining everything. How am I supposed to hear anything else when 49 hertz is screaming at me? It's 15 dB higher than than the lower frequencies, which are actually not that bad. That sub 30 hertz, these subwoofers are really good, and that's that guttural bass you really want to have, like I mentioned before. But it's almost overshadowed entirely by that nasty peak at 49 hertz. It's not cool. But I want you to see what happened when I just moved the microphone 3 feet back from his seating position, almost like as if there was a second row of seats back there. Check out this curve. So much different. Nothing else changed except for the position of the microphone 3 feet back farther, and look at how different this curve is. I love the fact that that 49 hertz peak got cut way down. I hate the fact that I now have this valley at 37 hertz, which is a really important frequency. There's a giant suck out there because of how the room is interacting with the sound. And that's only from a seat 3 feet back from the main seat. It's as if it was a second row seats. Imagine you and your buddies sitting in your home theater, and you're sitting in the front seat and they're sitting behind you, and you're saying, turn it down, that's too loud. And he's saying, where's the bass? No, turn it up. And that's the different experience that two people are getting just from being in a different spot in the room. It's crazy how just moving the listening position a little bit can have such a drastic effect on the overall sound. So I know a lot of you are looking at me and you're thinking, Dave, can't I just EQ that stuff out of there? Can I just EQ the bad stuff and keep the good stuff? I'll just run my Odyssey and it'll all be good. And I'm here to tell you, man, it's great. Odyssey and those automatic calibration tools have helped a lot to get way more people much better sound than we had before, but it's not the be-all end-all when it comes to fixing those problems. Remember that last example that I gave you where that microphone was 3 feet back? Let's say that was your spot, and the only place that your designer or your wife would let you put that seat is in that 3-foot spot back, and you had that 37 hertz suck out. You're not Odysseying that out of there. Systems like that, you can't EQ a giant null like that. You'll burn up your EQ before you do. So it's important to know the difference these things can make, just the positioning difference can make. And what do you do? Well, plan ahead if you can. Consult somebody who knows about how positioning in a room of speakers and listeners makes a difference, and how rooms interact with the sound to help give you the best possible result ahead of time. If it's a room, if you have a room where it's mainly just your room, like my man cave, and you have the flexibility to move seats and move speakers around, you can play with that. You can fine tune a sweet spot for 1 or 2 people, but it's hard to get an equal experience for everybody without treating the room with acoustic treatments. That's the last option and the best option for taking care of a lot of these problems. You can, using the right acoustic treatments in the right places, you can drastically reduce the effect that the room has and give a more balanced, enjoyable experience for all the seats in the room, not just the sweet spot. So I hope that this video helped you to understand and kind of put the visual to the theory and the sonics, the stuff that you're hearing, and make sense of why speaker positioning, listening positioning matters and makes such a huge difference. Thanks.